Hi, welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Number to call is 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. I think this, we don't know the information on this Malaysian airliner jet that crashed. Apparently they have looked at the oil slicks that surfaced, and they have determined that they did not come from those planes. They thought there was some debris in the ocean that might be one of the doors. It turned out to be not be part of the plane whatsoever. So right now, apparently, my latest information is there's no trace of that plane. They don't know where it is. They don't know where it went down. They don't have any idea really whatsoever what happened to that plane. The evidence is pretty strong that it disintegrated in midair because there was no warning. There was no mayday signal. There was no emergency dispatch from the cockpit. Just all of a sudden, nothing. It just vanished. It just disappeared, which makes it look like it was a catastrophic event. And you might have read this, that they have now identified that there were at least 2 passengers on that plane that flew under stolen passports. And here's what's significant. One was stolen in 2012. Another was stolen in 2013. But here is the deal. The tickets that they purchased were consecutively numbered tickets. So the tickets that were purchased with these bogus passports were purchased at the same time. So that would make it a spectacular, miraculous, inconceivable coincidence if somehow these were not related. So I think this is almost certainly an act of terrorism. Probably the guys that flew with these passports were responsible for it. It sounds very much like that Lockerbie thing over Scotland. So I think, and there's this, Interpol has a record of all of the travel documents, passports and so forth that have been reported lost or stolen. 40 million documents on there. And the airlines, countries can go, at first I thought they were locked out, but countries can go, airlines can go, and they can check this Interpol database. They can take passport information they get. They can check the passport information against this database to see if this is a stolen document. Nobody's ever done that. Malaysia's never done that. Or they could have spotted that these were stolen passports and at least done some additional research. So looks very suspiciously like a terrorist attack. And this is intriguing to me, but also suggestive that the Malaysia police have identified one of the 2 men who used the stolen passports. They've got an ID on this guy, and they are not saying what his ethnic identity is. They will not divulge his nationality. They are saying, look, he is not Malaysian, and he's not from China. But they're not saying where he is from. And that creates, now again, I'm not saying that I know this to be the case. It just raises the possibility that this guy is an Arab nationality and he's from a Muslim country, and they just don't want that information to get out. Now, I could be completely wrong. He could be a college student from Wisconsin. So I want to be assured that I make that caveat. But to me, it's intriguing that they know who this guy is, but they have not released even his nationality. You can release a guy's nationality without releasing his identity or his name, but they will not even do that. And a Taiwanese official said, look, we got a call from an Islamic group a week ago telling us that they were going to target Beijing's international airport. And this plane was headed toward Beijing's airport. And this Muslim group apparently tried to call the Beijing airport, couldn't get anybody to answer the phone, so they called Taiwan and said, look, hey, we're going after the Beijing airport. And the claim came from a group called the East Turkestan Independence Movement. That's an Islamic-inspired group seeking independence for the Uyghurs in Western China. So anyway, we'll find out more as that story develops. Let's grab a couple of sound bites. Here's Sarah Palin, CPAC, clip number 1, doing her own little take variation on Dr. Zeus, modifying. This has been something that's been around on email for a couple of years, and Sarah Palin tweaked it a little, put her own spin on it. Here's Sarah Palin, Dr. Zeus.
I do not like this, Uncle Sam. I do not like his healthcare scam. I do not like... Oh, just you wait. I do not like these dirty crooks or how they lie and cook the books. I do not like when Congress stills. I do not like their crony dills. I do not like this spying, man. I do not like, oh yes we can. I do not like this spending spree. We're smart, we know there's nothing free. I do not like reporter smug replies when I complain about their lies. I do not like this kind of hope, and we won't take it. Nope, nope, nope.
That's Sarah Palin reading her version of Green Eggs and Ham. And speaking of health care, do you know the Obama administration is out there talking about how the percentage of the uninsured is shrinking. Here, we're getting the job done. We're bringing that uninsured rate down. It's now down to 17 point, well, actually it's down to 15.9%. That's where the uninsured rate is at right now. And the Obama people are out there saying this is wonderful. This is marvelous. Look at the wonders of Obamacare. Look how well it's working. Well, do you know if you go back to 2008, when guess who was president? Who was president in 2008? Who was president in 2008 before all this Obamacare stuff? What was the rate of the uninsured under that poor, inept, incompetent cowboy Bush? It was 14.8%. So the percentage rate of the uninsured was lower under President Bush than it is under President Obama. Remember, that was the whole point of Obamacare, is to give insurance to everybody who was uninsured. It ain't working. And one of the unions that came right out of the chute to support Obamacare, they are now releasing a devastating report that says, look, you want to talk about what's going to be responsible for income inequality. Remember, this is the big deal. President Obama's been talking about income inequality, got to do something about income inequality. And this union, this is the union called Unite Here. That's the name of the union. This is a union that represents workers in the hotel industry, gaming, food service, manufacturing, textile, distribution, laundry, and airport industries. Unite Here. And they're saying, look, Obamacare is going to slash workers' wages by up to $5 an hour. It's going to reduce worker hours, and it's going to exacerbate income inequality, going to make it worse. And I won't take time to go through the details, but they've got one personal story after another. Here's one from a cook, from another union member who's a housekeeper, and how Obamacare is killing them. It's causing their cost of health care to go through the ceiling and making life much more difficult for them, and they work for wages. So this is a 300,000 member union. They're coming out now harshly critical of Obamacare after being one of the early adopters. All right, well, let's grab clip number 4. Ben Carson, again, going back to Ben Carson. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very important soundbite because this applies to you and me. This is us he's talking about, and he tells us what we need to do. Let's listen.
Well, here's the good news. The majority of people in this country have common sense. The problem is they have been beaten into submission. You know, the PC police and all these people, and people are afraid to speak up for what they believe. And, you know, one of the principles of Saul Alinsky, he said, you make the majority believe that what they think is outdated and nobody thinks that way, and that the way that they think is the only way intelligent people think. And if you can co-opt the media in the process, you're far ahead of the game. That's exactly what's happened. And it's time for people to stand up and proclaim what they believe and stop being bullied.
That's Ben Carson, and you can see the enthusiastic reception. He said, look, this is Saul Alinsky techniques here. This is classical Marxism that Obama and the secular fundamentalists are using, where they just beat people into submission. They try to get us to believe that we're the lunatic fringe, that nobody thinks like we do, that we're antiquated, that we're outdated, we're Neanderthals, we're Cro-Magnons in a Jetson age, and so they bully us into submission and bully us into silence. And Ben Carson says, look, it is time for people to stand up and to proclaim what they believe and stop being bullied. So those are our marching orders from Ben Carson. Let's stand up, proclaim what we believe, and refuse any longer, from this day forward, refuse any longer to be bullied into submission. Here's Rand Paul, clip number 5. And again, this has to do with 2016, and it touches on a theme. You know, we've been given the lesser of two evils in 2008. John McCain was the lesser of two evils. 2012, Mitt Romney, the lesser of two evils. Here's what Rand Paul had to say about that.
You may think I'm talking about electing Republicans. I'm not. I'm talking about electing lovers of liberty. It isn't good enough to pick the lesser of two evils.
All right, so Rand Paul just rejecting the lesser of two evils mantra, not going to settle for that. We're done with that. We're not going to settle for the lesser of two evils. We're going to find a champion of liberty. We're going to get behind him. We're going to support him. We're going to ride him to the finish line. You know, and I think a lot of people are right where Rand Paul is talking about. They've had it. I mean, I hear people call this program every day. They have just had it with this business of voting for the lesser of two evils. If they get that kind of a choice in 2016, they are going to stay home, or they'll go find a third-party candidate to support. So, you know, I hope Republicans are listening. I don't believe they are. I believe they're going to have to learn this a hard way, and America will suffer as a result. But if the Republican Party does not give us a candidate who is socially conservative as well as fiscally conservative, people are just going to stay home. 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. Take your calls and more when we come back. 888-589-8840.